Friends, this is Jack Ellsworth talking to you from the Columbia Recording Studios in New York City. And we're here today on a long and eagerly awaited occasion. Yes, today is the day we bring you our interview with the voice himself, Frank Sinatra. Frank, it's great to have you here with us, man.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Jack, and I think it's about time. I understand that there have been several letters coming in and out the station occasionally.
Several hundred.
Why I never came on, even in record form. Well, here I am, and I'm happy to be taking part in it because I understand there are a lot of fine people up here in the neighborhood who've been quite, let's say, loyal in a sense.
Yes, indeed, Frank. I don't think that I've ever looked forward to anything as much as this interview, not only because I've always admired you as a singer, an actor, and a wonderful guy, but because, as you just said, our listeners in Providence have been so tremendously enthusiastic about your work and have been hoping for many months now that we'd have the opportunity to chat with you.
And incidentally, speaking of Providence, while we're on it, I'd like to say that each time I've been there, it's been wonderful. I've had many successful engagements in Providence at the Metropolitan Theater several times, and we played a one-nighter with Tommy some years ago, and everybody was just fine, just wonderful.
Frank, you know, I didn't think it would be possible for me to dig you any harder, but after hearing those new records you just made, I'm so knocked out that I can scarcely think of adjectives to give you the praise you deserve. Man, all I can say is that they're the greatest records in life.
The three we made last night, you mean?
Terrific.
Well, they were good songs, Jack. I think the material is, of course, they usually say that an artist is as good as his material, and I think in 9 out of 10 cases that holds true, very true. And last night, a song like, well, for instance, one of the tunes, a thing called Let Her Go, Let Her Go, Let Her Go, is a great song and should be a big hit. What do you think about that tune?
I think it's a wonderful thing, Frank. It's different. It's got a tremendous sound to it. I've never heard a record quite like it.
Well, perhaps it was the fact that we were in the new studio and it was a wonderful Cy Oliver arrangement and everybody was kind of all excited about it. That may be the answer, too. But all in all, I would say that because of the song being so good, we couldn't miss with it last night.
And don't forget those other two tunes.
Bye Bye Baby, and which incidentally was written by Julie Stein, he's just a tremendous songwriter.
Wonderful.
And it all depends on you. You'll excuse the blue notes, neighbors. I got a little laryngitis today from working so hard over the weekend. It all depends on you is a George Saravo arrangement, who is one of the untapped arrangers, I feel. He's a very fresh style guy. He's just fine.
Frank, speaking of popular songs, how do you feel about the songs being turned out today?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Jack. I've had many discussions with some of the disc jockeys around the country and also people whom I've met, and with other artists in the business. It seems to me that, well, thank God, in the past couple of months, they're getting a little better, but for the past year, let's say a year ago, or 2 years ago, they were very poor. Some of the songs were just terrible. And I think that it's due to the fact, number one, that the songwriters, the good pop songwriters, are all tied up writing picture scores as a rule, or they're now doing Broadway shows, and they don't get much time to do pop songs anymore. So that we've had let's say, a smattering of amateur songwriters who I know mean well. I'm not saying anything to hurt anybody, but amateur songs I don't feel belong in professional music business until a songwriter is proven that he can write a hit at least 3 times a year. Well, then I don't think those songs should be done in the professional music business because they hurt the artist and the performer and orchestras. And I have said my piece.
No, very true, Frank. You've done some wonderful songs in the past, things like Some Other Time and As Long as There's Music from Step Lively.
They were written by Julie Stein and Sammy Kahn. They were great songs. Unfortunately, Jack, I think you remember at the time the record strike was on.
Yes.
We weren't recording, so that nothing happened. But I think someday those kind of songs, like many good songs, old ones, will be brought to light again and probably be big hits.
Well, you did some swell records with Tommy, too. You had a lot of wonderful tunes. This Love of Mine, which of course is your song, and then that other one which you recently recorded again in your new album. What's the name
Fools
of
Rush In.
Well, that's one.
Fools Rush In
what is that tune? When You Awake.
When You Awake, yeah.
Beautiful song.
Now, remember this, Jack, that in that era when Tommy he had such a great band and everything, that he had a lot going with it. That era had fine songs. We had tremendous tunes in those days. I don't think there was a bad song written in those days, or a poor song. But now it's an uphill battle until everybody gets settled and decides to go to work and write some songs. instead of I Beg Your Pardon and Near You and a couple of broken down tunes like that, I'd like to hear something good, something that's got some thought behind it.
My pet peeves were Woody Woodpecker and Tooly Ooly Dooly.
Oh, that was a dandy.
Oh.
There was one recently called Lavender Blue. That was real beauty.
And I think you sang that a couple of times on the...
No, I never sang. I ducked Lavender Blue. I happened
Didn't
to
you
do
do that
Woody.
one?
No, I had to do Woody Woodpecker because it was number one. And a lot of those things I had to do because they got up to the number one song. And the policy of the show is that the so-called star of the show sing the number one song. But I'm glad that they're out of the way. I think we're getting away from them now. We're getting away from the type of lyric that says, if I lose my head, I beg your pardon. That's a dandy lyric. That's the grand. He must have written that between breakfast and lunch on a streetcar somewhere.
Oh, Frank, I feel just exactly the same way as you do, and I know a lot of our listeners echo your viewpoints.
Speaking of the hit parade, Jack, let's talk about radio a little bit.
Yeah, tell us something about your
Well,
radio.
I've been questioned many times about why we came to part on the hit parade, and of course it was big top secret stuff, and I couldn't say anything because of some legal entanglement. And then finally, when we could break it, we finally broke the fact that we're going to do a 5-time-a-week show on NBC this fall, beginning September 5th, as a matter of fact, for Lucky Strike. Now, we didn't, I just like to make that clear, that we didn't have any kind of dispute with American Tobacco. All we did was just leave the show. It was a very amenable parting, and everybody involved knew that what the plans were. But as I say, we couldn't say anything about it until now. And I'm very thrilled and very excited about it because it'll give me a chance to sing as many songs as I like during the week and the songs that I like to sing, and particularly the ones that I think most folks would like to hear. So that ties up the radio situation. And also, we have a little deal 5 times a week on Mutual.
Disc jockey show.
Well, it's not basically a disc jockey show, not at all. Everybody's been confusing that. It'll be a talk show. We don't know yet what type of talk show it'll be, but occasionally we might play a record, and then I may use a pianist and sing a couple of songs during the show. We haven't yet decided, but it'll be, we hope, a fairly entertaining show for daytime radio, which I think, by the way, is the coming thing in the future.
And that brings
not
us
too
up.
long.
That brings us up to television. What do you
That's
think?
exactly what I mean. I think that I personally feel that within a year and a half or 2 years from now, I think that from 7 or 7:30 on, there'll be very few nighttime radio shows that are going to mean very much. I think the daytime radio will be the important AM stuff, and television will be the head man from 7 to 6 p.m. on, I imagine. Now that, of course, is not, I'm not guessing. I've talked to several people in charge of networks, some of the executives who kind of feel the same way about it. So you see now why I wanted to do a daytime radio show.
Yes,
To just keeping the public ear, you might say, in radio in the afternoons.
What about your movie plans, Frank?
Well, as you know, Take Me Out to the Ball Game was a fairly successful picture, and it's doing very well for Metro. And we're all very thrilled about it because it's good to be with a winning team, you might say. And then we finished one, Kelly and I finished one called On the Town. You remember the show ran here in New York several years ago.
Yes.
The Leonard Bernstein music and Robbins dances, and it was a fine show. And we play a couple of gobs on a 24-hour pass in New York City, and it's very cute. We shot half the picture here in New York to get the realism into it, and it's also Technicolor, and that should be out around Thanksgiving, I believe, or the latest Christmas. Then we have another one at RKO that won't be released until after the first of the year called It's Only Money, with Groucho Marx and myself, and I like to say Jane Russell. Isn't that dandy?
Oh, brother. Frank, I'd like to say something here, if I may, about the songs you've been doing in the movies recently. It's sort of a criticism, not a criticism really, but in a way it is.
Well, we want to hear criticisms, you know, all
well-
the time. We want to know where we're going and what we're doing wrong.
Well, Frank, several people have spoken of this to me, and I've felt this way for a long time. In the first few movies you did, Higher and Higher, Step Lively, and what was that other one? Reveille with Beverly. That was just one song.
Yeah,
deal.
well, then we had Anchors Away
Oh,
after,
Anchors Away.
after the other two, yes.
Well, what I'm getting at, Frank, is the fact that you seem to do more singing in the first pictures, and in these more recent MGM films, wonderful though they are, you seem to do just one chorus, and it leaves you hanging. You're just getting interested in the song, and bang, some silly business goes
Well,
on.
I know. I've been discussing that with
It's a drag, you
with
know.
the makers of the pictures out there, and we're slowly defeating that. We're getting back to the fact that I entered pictures as a singer, basically. And however, it's been very flattering because they feel that I've been learning about acting quite rapidly. They say, I don't know, they can bet me, as a matter of fact. But they think that I've been doing fairly well as an actor, and they feel that they'd like to give me more acting material. And not a question of less singing, but to emphasize performing as an actor. But I think we'll clean that up, Jack, in the next few months. In the next picture, as a matter of fact, I'll see to it that we do a lot more songs. I hope, anyway.
Well, we hope so,
And
Frank.
speaking of the next picture, frankly, I don't know what we'll do yet. They have many properties, but I'm sure that it'll be great because we got a lot of good boys out at Metro who guide careers quite well.
Well, Frank, let's talk for a few moments about your family. How are the folks out there?
Oh, they're fine. I talk to the kids and Nancy every day or every other day whenever I can get a half hour to get to a phone because talking to my family, it takes at least a half hour before you get around to everybody. That includes the butler and the cook and my mother-in-law and everybody else who happens to be at the house. And they're all fine. The kids are growing like crazy. They're getting big. And the boy shows signs of being a good musician. He loves music. And little Nancy shows some signs of being also a musician, by the way. She plays fine piano for a child. She plays very well. And she's been showing some designs of being a painter, which makes me very happy because I've been delving in it myself, and it's a lot of fun. Of course, the little one, little Tina, she's a little young yet. She hasn't made up her mind. She's only a year old, you know. We'll get around that eventually. So that takes in the family. They're all well, and I'd be very anxious to get home. I'll be home the end of next week for a month's vacation before we start, by the way, which is the first one in 10 years, I think, or 7 years.
And brother, you deserve one, too. Frank, let me sneak in another question here. I know this is kind of running long, but the people have been so anxious to hear from you, and I know there's so many things that they want to know about. They've written in and said, Jack, ask Frank about this and that and so forth. Tell us about some of your favorite records by the nation's top bands and singers.
Well, let me see. You see, I don't get much chance to... I listen to most of the disc shows, either I'll be driving in a car or late at night when I'm sitting around the house, and I haven't heard too many records from time to time, but the few I've heard are wonderful. For instance... Kay Starr has made some fine records. I think she's a tremendous singer, and I think before long she'll probably be one of the tops in the female bracket. And I won't go into the particular records because I think she made everything she touches seems to be just wonderful. And Doris Day also has been doing very well on Columbia Records, if I may mention the word.
Yes, indeed.
The name, the brand, I should say. And for instance, I was fortunate to be on the record. I really mean that sincerely. On the latest one we did, Let's Take an Old-Fashioned Walk from Miss Liberty, which is the Berlin song. And Doris is so cute. She has something wonderful about her style, and it's bubbly. It kind of bubbles, and I like working with her. Yeah, she bubbles. It's wonderful. And let me see. I heard a record of Crosby's just the other day, and I wish to God I could think of it. I can't remember the name, but it's one of the best things he's done in a long time. And all in all, I think the singing business is here to stay. Everybody's working pretty good and pretty hard at it.
Great, Frank. We've got about a minute to go, and in closing, let me say here at the end of this interview that to me and to all our listeners, you're the very living end, and I know that I speak for everybody when I say that. And all of us hope you'll never stop turning out those terrific songs. And, hey, Frank, what's that closing theme of yours again?
Well, it's called Put Your Dreams Away.
So that's what we're going to do right now.
All right. Bye.